test. This is my subject, Lincoln Nickel.
The field test nominated is a maximal dynamic strength test, specifically the 1 rep max squat test. The 1 rep max test requires a constant gravitational load throughout the movement and best represents the heaviest load that can be moved over a specific range in 1 repetition. As the test is maximal, the athlete needs to be proficient in the particular movement and able to cope with the load. The following test will meet the National Sports Science Quality Assurance Standard for maximal testing. The 1RM squat protocol will follow Burke 1977 and Harris and Elborn 2002 pre-test warm-up and guidelines of a general warm-up of light aerobic cycling at 100 watts for 5 minutes. The subject's predicted 1RM squat is 100 kilos and will follow Burke 1977, Maud and Foster 1995 exercise-specific warm-up of 50% for 8 reps with 2-minute recovery, 70% for 4 reps with 2-minute recovery, then 90% for 2 reps with 5 minutes recovery before the first attempt of the 1 rep max. For the squat repetition to be valid, the lowering and lifting actions must be performed in a continuous manner, with the subject lowering to a designated depth where the crease of the hips is level with the top of the knee. The subject has a maximum of 4 tests after the specific warm-up to reach the repetition max, all whilst the heels remain in contact with the floor at all times during the test. If any of the technical violations occur, the trial will be considered invalid and the subject will have to perform a second trial at the same weight. Violations include excessive forward or sideways movement during the test, loss of controlled spinal position, lifting of heels off the floor, not lowering to required depth, raising of hips prior to shoulder elevation, having greater than 2 seconds rest between reps. The 1RM validity is enhanced as it is a maximal testing. This is in comparison to a submaximal test where there's a prediction of a 1RM from a 10 or 5 RM. The 1RM squat reliability for males is very high, as the correlation coefficient is 0.992, or very large, or nearly perfect, in Hopkins classification system. To further ensure test reliability and validity, a quick check of the weights was made to see if there was any significant damage or chunks taken out in which would affect the overall weight of the plates. The Olympic bar will be held in the high bar position and seated comfortably on the trapezius during the test. Hands should be held in a comfortable position as close to the shoulders as possible. Safety bars will also be set at the highest possible point without affecting the athlete's range of motion. The weight belt is optional but was preferred by the subject and will also remain consistent between sets. The warm-up process will be broken down into 2 sections. Firstly, the general warm-up, consisting of a light aerobic cycle for 5 minutes at 100 watts. The intensity and duration of the warm-up was adjusted to the individual's level of strength, fitness, and training age. It was the athlete's decision not to utilize any stretching, but instead a functional warm-up of the movement. Previous studies have reported a functional warm-up is an important part to ensure test reliability through the use of familiarization. Hopkins 2000 suggests this will minimize learning effects and/or systematic bias. The first specific warm-up will be 50 kilos for 8 reps, as it is 50% of the 100 kilos predicted 1 rep max. To accurately assess and score the squat, I am side on from the athlete to facilitate observation of the hip and knee angle, back posture and depth. To further analyze the test, a freeze frame will be taken of the squat when it is at its deepest position and a line will be drawn across from the crease of the hip to the top of the knee. This will be done for each test to ensure an accurately scored result. Next, the subject will be performing 4 70-kilo squats, as it is 70% of the 100-kilo predicted rep max. Here the athlete is performing 2 reps at 90 kilos, as it is 90% of his predicted rep max. With the successful completion of all the specific warm-up requirements, the athlete will take a 5-minute rest and move on to his predicted RM squat for 100 kilos. Here, the athlete is completing a successful trial of the predicted 1 rep max of 100 kilos. With the successful completion of trial 1, the athlete will take a 5-minute rest and attempt a new rep max of 105 kilos. With a successful completion of trial 2 at 105 kilos, the athlete will take a 5-minute rest and increase his new RM to 110 kilos. In trial 3, the athlete attempts a 110 kilo rep max with a failed attempt due to not meeting the NSSQA required depth of hip to the top of the knee level. The subject was entitled to a second attempt at 110 kilos, as it was within his 4 trials, although he had felt he had reached his rep max of 105 kilos. 1 repetition max test could be used to establish training load for an athlete training program, or to determine progress associated with the training program, or to see where an athlete performance may be lacking, or to determine relative strength. Frequency of testing. A planned testing schedule should be outlined in an annual plan and should be reflective of specific targets established in each training phase. The recommended minimum time period for testing to evaluate athletes' progress is 6 weeks, as it allows significant adaptations and should be greater than the typical area of measurements. Viable alternatives. Submaximal testing can be used as an alternative to 1RM. It is more suitable for younger or inexperienced athletes, although validity is decreased with an increase of reps. Furthermore, isometric mid-thigh pulls are easily learned and less demanding than the 1RM, but require more expensive and difficult equipment to use.